Put pupils first. Give teachers time to teach. Good morning, colleagues. We're about to embark on the first phase of our industrial action to bring about a reduction in teacher workload. The title of our campaign is very important, as our concern about the young people we teach is as important as to our concern for teachers and teaching. SSTA members have been campaigning for a number of years to reduce teacher workload in all aspects of our work, but especially in the senior phase. SSTA has consistently pushed for a reduction in a system that all sides acknowledge is workload heavy, and we want that change in this current session. This is not just for ourselves, but for our young people we teach. If we achieve our aim, our young people will benefit also. As a result of our and other unions' pressure, the Deputy First Minister announced a few weeks ago that unit assessments are to be removed from National 5 in 2017-2018. We welcome this move, but it is another year away. Unfortunately, there has not been any progress on the situation in regard to National 4. The next meeting to discuss National 4 takes place on the 2nd November, and we will keep you informed of developments. Unfortunately, the pace of change is slow, and as a union we had no choice to act and protect our members by attempting to reduce teacher workload in the coming months. This is the first phase of our action, and we will be issuing further advice to our members in management positions, those members in guidance, pupil support, and designated as the named person. This presentation will add more detail to the guidance that has been circulated to you recently, and if we can all work together, we can achieve meaningful change in the future. Good luck to everybody in our schools. Core duties. A teacher is contracted to work to a maximum of 35 hours per week. The most important part of a teacher's work is teaching. Teachers can be required to teach and cover absent colleagues up to a maximum of 22.5 hours. A teacher with a management responsibility should expect to have their teaching time reduced to reflect the level of responsibility. In addition, all teachers have an allocation of 7.5 hours for preparation and correction time. The teaching, preparation and correction time should be ring-fenced as an essential part of a teacher's work and not available for reallocation to other tasks or duties. The remaining time of 5 hours is known as collegiate time. Collegiate time. The 5 hours of collegiate time is determined by the school's working time agreement. If a teacher takes part in a voluntary activity, it must be entirely voluntary and can be brought to an end by the teacher. If a teacher is expected to carry out such a voluntary duty, it can no longer be regarded as voluntary. The duty can be declined as it is not part of the teacher contract. Teachers who undertake supervised study are paid by a separate contract, and the SSTA guidance does not apply. SSTA guidance to schools to manage workload. The remaining part of this presentation should be read in conjunction with the guidance issued to all members. All the sections of the guidance are based on good practice and are reasonable within the constraints of the teacher's 35-hour week and the school's working time agreement. In many instances, these practices may already be commonplace. Working time agreements. All working time agreements are negotiated with the recognised trade unions in the school, often using a template provided by the employer, your local authority. The working time agreement must be adhered to, and any task or activity that a teacher is required to undertake must be contained within the working time agreement. If additional work has been allocated, such as the work generated by national qualifications, then time needs to be found within the working time agreement. Meeting of teachers. All staff, department and working group meetings must be allocated on the school calendar. Meetings must have an agenda that is circulated in good time to allow preparation and meaningful discussion. If a meeting is called and business on the agenda has been concluded, then the meeting should end. There is no requirement for the meeting to continue to meet the time allocated. However, crucially, meetings should not go beyond the time allocated. Formal assessments. The time allocated within the working time agreement should include sufficient time for teachers to carry out formal assessments. This includes the work required for national qualifications. As changes to national qualifications are not due to take place until 2017-2018, the unreasonable workload for pupils and teachers will continue for another year. To find time to meet the workload generated in the delay to changes to the national qualifications, all members are asked to quantify the expected workload demanded by SQA. This information will enable the school rep to engage with the head teacher to make arrangements this term to identify measures and the time required to manage your workload within the working time agreement. Monitoring and tracking. Monitoring and tracking has been a growth industry in the past few years and is usually used as an accountability tool by schools. These systems, in many cases, do not help the individual teacher in their preparation for teaching and learning. The continuation of these systems needs to be questioned, as they are a poor use of teacher time. There is a wide variance and inconsistency in practice in all secondary schools across Scotland. As a consequence, SSTA is trying to give reasonable guidance within the confines of the teacher contract. A tracking and monitoring system should be capable of generating a report to parents. Teachers should not have to repeat the input of existing information into separate systems. Members are asked not to add to their work by analysing their inputted data and reinserting existing information. In most cases, monitoring and tracking exercises should be only undertaken on 2 occasions during the year, and only if the system is capable of producing a computerised report. Parent meetings. Parent meetings are the most effective means of reporting to parents. The teacher-parent dialogue is a crucial element in supporting pupils' learning. It is unnecessary for a teacher to produce a written report for this meeting. A teacher will be able to rely on this knowledge, experience and professional judgment in discussing the pupil's progress. The parent-teacher meeting may be supplemented, if necessary, by another report at a different time in the school year. Due to the constraints of the teacher contract, it is not reasonable to expect more than 1 teacher-parent meeting per year group per academic year. Reporting to parents. Computerised generated reports should replace the need for other types of reports to parents. The length of any report to parents must be accommodated within the time allocated in the working time agreement, after accounting for the time required for tracking and monitoring. If subject reports are required, schools need to recognise that the number of classes a teacher teaches within a year group will determine the length of the report. It is unreasonable to expect a report to be the same as a teacher who teaches a single class within the year group. Again, all reports across the school must be accommodated within the time allocated. Admin and non-teaching duties. The basic question to be asked is, does the task being undertaken require the skill and expertise of a teacher? If the answer is no, then the task needs to be allocated to a member of support staff. In the event of a member of support staff not being available, the work should remain undone until time is reallocated within the school's working time agreement. Any task such as a risk assessment or an accident report form, once completed, does not have to be repeated by the teacher for the school or a local authority generated system. The school should ensure there is a single system that does not require a teacher to repeat an exercise. IT systems. IT systems must be fit for purpose and are a good use of teacher time. Teachers should be encouraged to use statement banks and other time-saving systems to complete reports. IT systems that are time-consuming and workload heavy should be stood down until replaced by alternative methods. Long hours waiting for equipment to function or systems that are not beneficial to teaching and learning should be brought to an end. Teachers should not be expected to compensate for inadequate IT systems. Email communication. The email system cannot replace professional dialogue and should not be seen as a substitute. Many schools use emails inappropriately without any recognition of the workload it creates. The school should have an email communication policy that focuses on the passing of essential information and requires limited responses. The policy must not expect teachers to send, read and respond to emails with unrealistic deadlines. A school should not expect emails to be read and responded to during evenings, weekends and holiday periods, nor when teachers are teaching or using preparation and correction time. School improvement plans. All development work should have an allocated time resource within the working time agreement. A school cannot expect additional or uncompleted work to be undertaken when the time allocated has been exhausted. All new initiatives or policies or someone's good idea must have a workload impact assessment and agreed with the recognised unions within the school before implementation. Temporary responsibilities. Any teacher asked to undertake additional duties over and above the normal classroom teacher needs to have additional time allocated and, crucially, paid for doing the duty. However, teachers are often encouraged to take an additional responsibility without time and payment. As a consequence, are thereby doing so on a voluntary basis. All offers of additional voluntary responsibilities can be declined. Please note, a teacher that undertakes a temporary responsibility is entitled to be paid after undertaking the responsibility after 20 days during the course of the year, backdated to day 1. Please remember that this is the first phase of our industrial action to bring about a reduction in teacher workload. Additional guidance will follow in the coming weeks. As the industrial action has begun, we can legally add or remove guidance during the action. If you have a query or concern, please do not hesitate to contact the association for further help and support.